So let's dive into the big news of the week, man. The HBO Max Warner Brothers Discovery sort of shareholder meeting and everything.
What happened, dude?
That went down. Okay. So a lot of stuff happened. And I'm going to sort of relate this back to, like Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon and everything and what that means for it going forward, as well as DC and some of these other things.
Right.
So when the merger happened, when AT&T sold off, when AT&T sold Warner Brothers to Discovery, one of the things that we knew was going to happen was a bloodbath among Warner Brothers, because there's a lot of things that are failing very bad at Warner Brothers right now, including Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
The Fantastic Beasts movies have sucked.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
We watched all three of them.
Yeah,
they were sort of okay, but they've declined.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the only thing that's actually really worked at Warner Brothers is HBO. And Game of Thrones and all of these things. So there's a problem, however, in the branding, and I've always felt this with HBO Max, is that there is kind of a problem with the branding. The advantage of Disney Plus is, with Disney Plus, when I think Disney, I now think Star Wars and Marvel and like old Disney cartoons, right?
Yeah.
When you hear the name HBO Max, it does not directly correlate to you Warner Brothers, which is really what that platform is and was.
Yeah.
In that when you go on there, it has Cartoon Network, it has, so you can watch Looney Tunes, you can watch any of the Cartoon Network shows. It has Turner Classic Movies. It has current HBO stuff, and it has DC, which is like a big thing. So when I hear that, I don't necessarily correlate HBO with this. Then you have the problem of HBO regular, which is like you get through cable or satellite, and HBO Max. It's kind of like a few years ago before they did HBO Max. Remember, you had HBO if you had it on TV through cable, then there was HBO Go, and then there was HBO Now, and it was like, which one do I get and it was super confusing. So they still sort of feel, one, that there is a branding issue with HBO Max, and now you have the Discovery content with Discovery Plus and they want to merge them and make one thing. So which sounds good. I get that. The idea of merging the two things and making it say Warner Brothers Plus, or whatever you want, or just come up with some new name, kind of like, Peacock for NBC, because that's sort of the logo. You come up with something like that. I get it. The problem with and the reason why there is an absolute like uproar in like on the internet right now was sort of the way they described it during the shareholder meeting.
Oh, okay.
Which so this is where things started happening. So they outright canceled a few things, including the Batgirl. So there's a lot of variables. There's a ton of variables that go into this. So one is they outright canceled the Batgirl movie, which they spent $70 million, probably $90 million on. Was gonna bring, say, Michael Keaton back as Batman.
Yeah.
Then they canceled like a Scooby-Doo movie. They have begun removing a lot of HBO Max like original movies and content and things like that, just like sort of quietly off the platform.
Okay.
And so, I mean, DC has so many problems with it in the first place. The DCEU is a mess, has been ever since it was really created.
Yep.
And that's for a ton of reasons, which we've gone over in the past. And we're like that going forward, there's a lot of problems with it because Ezra Miller is like a train wreck and super liability, as well as some of the content just apparently isn't good.
Yeah.
So one of the things that was great that came out of that was, hey, we want to make quality movies. So they said they watched this Batgirl movie and it sucked. And they were like, we're not showing it. Sorry. The advantage was when they bought Warner Brothers from AT&T, they took on an enormous amount of debt. And I guess the way the tax laws work is you can sort of cancel it and you can write it off as like a tax break. So it actually, because they took on like, $40 billion of debt or something to buy Warner Brothers, however much. So they can actually start to say, hey, we can actually save money by canceling some of these things. Even though that money was already sort of spent, just, government, big corporations, you can do all that stuff.
Right.
This is, and I have some pictures here, and this is where some of the other like fan uproars came about. So because the internet, I mean, if you look at surveys, HBO Max is considered the best streaming platform on the internet. The user interface is amazing. Everybody really seems to like it. And so it's just one of these things where it's a really good platform. Oh, let me zoom in here. So this was the image they released. Now the internet is viewing this without the context of the shareholders meeting, which I listened to. Because I'm a shareholder, so I get it. I get to listen to these things live.
Better, yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So what they're actually saying here, so for those of you listening on the podcast, there's two slides up here, and they're saying unique and complementary. So it has HBO Max on one side and it has Discovery Plus on the other. So the HBO Max side has just bullet points underneath it that say male skew, scripted, lean in, appointment viewing, and home of fandoms. And on the other side, it has Discovery Plus, which says female skew, unscripted, lean back, comfort viewing, and home of genre domes. So the internet is seeing this without any context whatsoever. And everyone's like, this is like the most sexist thing I've ever seen. And I totally get it. And it it totally does, because basically it feels like what they're saying is, women aren't into scripted television or like DC content or any of these things. What women want to watch is, say, 90 Day Fiance universe, which we'll get back to here in a second. So it's totally ridiculous. But what they're actually saying was that this is what they found. This is what their data shows. Their data shows that more males watch HBO Max. They watch, because HBO Max does have unscripted things like F-Boy Island and whatever.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. So they do have that. So it's actually saying that more men watch HBO Max, are more into scripted television, and are home of fandom. So more people are watching, say, Westeros content, DC content, Harry Potter content, those type of things. Whereas on Discovery Plus, this is what they found. So they want to combine them so that they can have one mega service. Now, this is where things get really interesting, because they have a 3-tiered plan. They're going to have a free version of whatever this new thing is, probably Warner Brothers Plus, with ads. So in theory, you would be able to watch a mega show like House of the Dragon for free.
Wow.
With ads.
Okay.
Which is a total game changer in terms of viewers and everything. Because if that happens, then House of the Dragon will absolutely just steamroll everything. It'll be the biggest. Because Game of Thrones itself was the most pirated show on television. Ever. I mean, it was the most pirated thing. They also said, by the way, in the shareholders meeting, they said several times, House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones more than anything else. They said that over and over. And they said that because House of the Dragon is coming up, that the viewers for Game of Thrones, like people who are going back currently right now and watching Game of Thrones, is through the roof. Is through the roof.
Jeez.
Which in a shareholders meeting, you typically don't say that type of thing. You don't because you only talk for a handful of minutes, and you're trying to ensure investors and everything that that's coming up. Normally it's mostly it's all numbers, EBITDA and freaking, retention rate and all this nerdy number stuff. But I mean, they said several times Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, even more than they talked about DC and Batman and some of these other things. And other big movies that are coming up. So that to me tells me this show is about to be freaking huge.
Let's go.
Huge.
Very happy to hear that.
Yeah, huge. This show's gonna be massive. Some of the other things that were sort of went on to say is they're overhauling like DC and Harry Potter and all these other things, but the
Sure.
one area they're not even touching is HBO. Regular HBO. If anything, they said that we are actually going to be spending substantially more on HBO than we did in the year past and the year past. So next year HBO will be even bigger.
Nice.
So HBO Max itself is going to die essentially. It's just going to die off, and they're no longer going to be creating, say, HBO Max specific shows. It will be HBO that can create whatever it wants, and then it will appear on the streaming service. Right. So now HBO itself has more control, but HBO Max is like not going to exist anymore.
Yep.
Because HBO is like the one thing at Warner Brothers that just works, where they're just keeping, what's his name, Corey Bloss is his name, and he's been there since like 2002. So he's been there for an incredibly long time. He's been there for Sopranos and all of like the mega shows, and he's the guy. So like he clearly knows like what works and everything. And this streaming service isn't even coming out until next summer, they said. Which leads me to believe that so it's not going to affect anything this year. So like House of the Dragon or any of the other stuff that's coming out, don't have to worry about that. But it leads me to believe that next year, I would not be surprised if we do not get some other. I know there's like nothing's officially been listed as filming or anything, but man, I would not be shocked if we don't hear very shortly here that there is another Westeros content thing being done at HBO, because when that new streaming service launches next year, which is a combination of Discovery Plus and HBO, you're going to want some mega powerhouse show to be its sort of lead. That's like what Disney Plus was, The Mandalorian. So, hey, we have this, you need this brand new big thing to sort of lead the charge.
Yep. No, that's a really good point. So what do you think that show is going to be? I mean, like,
it sounds to me the thing that sounds like it's been in development the most time is Snow.
Let's go.
I mean,
God, could you imagine? That would take the internet by storm. And we've already seen it in our Bend the Knee channel, just people coming in, House of Dragons bringing people back in, and then Snow. If that were the show, that was going to sort of, as you said, you want people to go, hey, to watch this show, you can watch it for free with ads if you want. Go check it out. You can see Jon Snow again in a sequel to Game of Thrones. You're right. People are going to go subscribe. They're going to go watch the whole thing. And then it starts to kind of coax people into understanding what this new platform is, and getting a sense of what they're doing, because I thankfully have Matt to tell me what the heck is going on, because otherwise most people would be like, what is happening? That you need a way for the general public to understand, what you can see and all that good stuff. So,
So you have that going on. And again, HBO is like the one area where they're not touching it. So it also sounds, they did say that they're going to be spending less on animation in the coming year, which to me leads me to believe that I do have a feeling, though, that some of the things that we've been teased in sort of George saying, hey, we're going to do this and this and this, I guess HBO has full power to do whatever they want, it feels like, compared to everybody else. With DC, they said, we want to do a 10-year plan like Marvel is doing. Because now David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, who was the CEO of Discovery before it merged, so he stayed, is being advised by like Bob Iger, who was the guy at Disney who oversaw, Kevin Feige and the whole deal. He left like 2 years ago, ironically, once Marvel started to really decline. So they want to do like a big 10-year plan, because I read a lot of like leak rumors and the insider stock, trading news and everything. And their viewpoint with DC, at least, is we have like a 10-year window, because Marvel is now in this weird phase where they're like, all of the original Avengers are gone. And now we're getting the second wave, which is like Falcon is now Captain America, and Hawkeye is now
the JV team's up.
It is. It's like the JV. It is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is kind of, and like Thor's stepping down, and the Guardians are going to leave.
Sure.
And so it is sort of this like JV Avengers team. To be honest.
Sorry.
So
but,
it is. It totally is. Not saying any of those characters aren't cool or whatever, but nonetheless. So they have like a 10-year window to use the bigger things, which they sort of talked about here. So this is what they're sort of viewing as their like major powerhouse combined franchises, which first of all, let me say one thing. I think, okay, so the number one franchise they say is Batman. Okay.
Sure.
They have Wonder Woman here. I guess you want to list all the DC stuff together.
That's fine. That's fine.
So right here, it tells me that their new plan is going to be some sort of Trinity. And that's what a lot of people are saying online. Because it sounds like the Flash movie that's coming out with Ezra Miller is going to be the end of like the DCEU as we know it. They're basically just going to do some sort of like Flashpoint, reset the whole deal, or just have the Batman now be like the leading thing.
Okay.
But here we go. Okay, I mean, let me get this straight. They do have Game of Thrones up here, and they have Harry Potter, which to me says, hey, of all of the Warner Brothers stuff, this is our three biggest things.
Yeah.
First of all, in no way, shape, or form should Shark Week and 90 Day Fiance be mentioned in the same sentence as Game of Thrones. And that's the last time I'll ever use them in the same sentence in my life. Okay. That is just freaking ridiculous.
It's wild.
I mean, like, what does that even mean? Right? Game of Thrones. You have Game of Thrones in between Shark Week and 90 Day Fiance. It's
odd. It's odd for people like us. It is odd. I mean, I didn't even know how big of a deal 90 Day Fiance was.
How does 90 Day Fiance have its own like what the 90 Day Fiance multiverse? Like what is,
dude?
Like,
they're exchanging wives and everything. I have no idea what's going on.
Is that Big Ed guy like the Thanos of the 90 Day Fiance universe? Like,
dude,
what even is that? Like,
I don't know. It reminds me of when people went crazy about like Survivor and all those different shows like that. They just it builds this I don't know, it's your thing. You watch it like Shark Week. I hate sharks. I'm out. Like but for some people it's a huge event. Like Stranger Things is coming on. They're like, it's Shark Week. And I'm like, what the heck? So
what the
I guess we are in this skew. It makes going back to that graphic, right? That's not our thing. So that's definitely not I'm not seeing it, but clearly there must be
can we get like now that they're combined, can we get some sort of crossover? Can we like Dragon Week or something? Or
Dragon Week? Can we get like Jon Snow's like the new Bachelor he's trying to find his own
I would totally watch some like reality TV in the Game of Thrones universe.
I was gonna say that would be wild.
Give me I don't care how stupid it is that there'd be cameras
like Essos to Westeros 90 Day Fiance thing. They've got like a they've got
what I really want is like, obviously, they wouldn't be speaking to cameras because cameras wouldn't exist in the universe. But just for like it'd just be hilarious if they just did
fun.
It.
Yeah.
For fun of like Cersei and Joffrey and like Tywin and Tyrion, but it's like done in the style of like one of those, like where they have to sit down and do the interview or like, I just can't believe, like it would just be hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, come on, make it happen. But I'm still it's just upsetting that you have Game of Thrones mentioned next to those things.
It's wild though. But dude, I guess that says something to the viewership of those things. Like, I guess those are huge. I mean, I don't know.
It's also telling too, by the way, that all of the things you have listed on this thing, how many of these are actually Discovery properties?
Yeah, exactly. So
not many.
So I mean, I guess what's up with that? Like Discovery had the money to buy, or they just think they can run it, but I don't get the whole.
So why they bought it? So it was it's just sort of like AT&T was looking to sell it.
Yeah,
because AT&T made a series of terrible decisions, in which I get their idea. So when they originally bought Warner Brothers, the idea was, hey, this legitimately does make sense, and I get it. Their idea was everyone has phones. Mm-hmm. And everyone is going to be switching to the phone being their primary viewpoint of where they watch media, where they watch media. So why don't we buy a movie studio, whatever, so that way we can offer a streaming platform with our phones, which
Yep.
they actually do. And actually that is going to continue. Is their sort of
Partnership.
good partnership with AT&T.
Sure.
That makes sense. Actually, that is I get that from the thing, but it's just they took on so much debt, and they also bought DirecTV, which was like, that was honestly probably what killed it for them. Was DirecTV is like declining, and they bought it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Terrible idea. So they just had so much debt.
I see
that. And they want to begin, they have to now start building all this infrastructure for 5G. And so it's just like, how do we can't spend all this money to go build all sorts of new, phone lines and all this other, true like infrastructure stuff.
Right.
And spend all this money on like content
and media. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like how at Disney sometimes, like Disneyland, the theme parks, like hurt their business. Like during COVID, like that really hurt their business more than the television side, because you're still streaming stuff. And so like that hurts your stock price and all that other stuff. There's a lot more to it, and I've talked about that as well. But so that was sort of the AT&T's reason for selling. Now Discovery viewed it as a chance to, we can really begin to turn into like a big mega powerhouse company, right? And compete. So that actually was a good idea. It's just the problem right now is that it feels like David Zaslav's totally like this maniacal tyrant who's up there like canceling all of these things. So I mean, the Batgirl movie, I guess, was like done. I mean, it's like in post-production, and all the Hollywood executive and everything like that just doesn't happen.
Dang, that is wild. So I mean, why not? So he thought he could make more money just by canning it. Possibly?
So you get because
you get that write-off.
You get a write-off because of the merger is the reason they're doing it. But what it also says to people is that apparently they thought, hey, this thing is actually better for us as a tax write-off than to release it.
That's crazy.
And also their big thing is, we don't like Netflix, for example. A few months ago, it was like all over, their stock price absolutely plummeted because Netflix was giving out all of these enormous budgets for these streaming shows, including like Stranger Things, which is why it looked freaking sick. Because they were just like, hey, we just need more and more and more and more and more content, but they weren't creating necessarily good content. And so what they're saying here at Warner Brothers is, we want to make good content rather than just, we feel like they're going with a more conservative approach, which is like, hey, we need to make good content that drives people to our platform rather than just having the most content for the sake of having it. And they're going to get rid of the 45-day, then it hits your streaming thing. Hits your streaming platform. So big movies, they're going away with that, because right now Paramount is making a killing on Top Gun Maverick. Had they went to streaming, it's like $1 billion. It's like 7th highest grossing movie ever. It's still making a ton of money right now because it's still in theaters and getting shown again. Yeah. Whereas you would have lost that money. You would have lost a lot of that money had it been only in theaters for 45 days.
Yeah. Well, cool. I mean, I'm actually okay with the theater thing. I know people are mixed on this or whatever.
It'll hit it eventually.
Yeah, it will. Exactly. And again, I like supporting, I don't know. It's one of those things that I enjoy the experience. It's an experience, and eventually if you want to wait, you're willing to wait, it'll show up, and people wait for it to come out on, we used to wait for it to come out on DVD, right? If you didn't want to watch it in theaters, you wait. All right, when's it coming out on DVD? Bam, we go grab that bad boy and we watch it. So, it's just kind of going back to that. And I think it's good because I want the film industry to, I want the movie theaters to do well. And I want those things to kind of come back. I'm a huge fan of that. Can I just ask a question though? So the Batgirl directors, I guess, people are coming out. They're supported. Some people are trying to because essentially they were just told, "Hey, your stuff's not good enough, and you guys, this is bad." So that, I guess, like Kevin Feige and some other people came out and tried to support and said,
"Well, I think it's the director of Miss Marvel. They're the people who did Miss Marvel."
Really?
Yeah.
Which that's wild then. So what was so bad about it? I wonder if it wasn't more just that hey, we're going in a new direction with DC. Right. This is what maybe we weren't blown away by it. We're not really. I would imagine maybe he says to them, "Hey, we're going to keep you. We're going to come back to this, but right now we're not doing it."
I think some of the problems are also, in all honesty, Ezra Miller. Seriously, because Right, because the part of the whole deal is they also said that, hey, Ben Affleck is going to be. I think the whole deal is messed up because it seems like what the plan was, at least like a few months ago, was with DC. Hey, we're doing all these movies. We're doing the Flash movie where we're going to have Michael Keaton come in, bring him back as Batman, and he's now going to be the new Batman because Ben Affleck like doesn't want to be in Batman anymore because of all the stuff with like. It's just the whole DC's been a train wreck. I mean, there's been movies in it that I loved and everything, but I mean, from a like production side, it's not even close to compare it to Marvel fairly, which pains me to say because I love DC and hate Marvel. But it's the truth.
Right. Yeah.
But so then they've had to do tons of reshoots and everything. And then a lot of the screen tests have said that fans have found it confusing that Michael Keaton is back as Batman. I'm like, wait, hold on a second. So that it's like for the screen test and everything, a lot of people are saying it's really confusing.
Right.
That they have multiple, and then they have Robert Pattinson as Batman in like his own thing. And now they're like, wait, there's like 5 Batman at once.
Too much.
It's too much. Yeah. So that seems to be the thing. That they're going with, which is why they're going to do it. But they did say that they still want to work with like the actress who played Batgirl and everything. It's just like this movie wasn't the one. It's too confusing. And then when are they going to release it? Because it seems like they need to establish some things here to have it work over here, which is why they're like moving Shazam and Aquaman and all these things around.
Yeah. I really hope they bring those guys back and just say, because it sounds like some of the elements, I mean, if it's confusing because this is what we're doing, we're bringing in new Batmans, we're setting up something with Flash, and then they're going, yeah, we need to get past this. Like we need to go to a new 10-year plan, and we just got to move on. Like this is going to only confuse fans more, and we need to, because to save a Michael Keaton moment for your 10-year plan would be cooler than I guess like bringing him in here, and then this doesn't even count towards their, their project. Like that's wild. Yeah, I guess that would you kind of squander in opportunity by having it happen here, where it's a part of this, universe that was a mess that is not really fitting. So,
right.
I don't know. I hope they go.
Well, forward. You just go back to Justice League, and it's why now when I feel like, to me the biggest problem with Batman versus Superman, the movie, which a lot of people have a lot of problems with, I personally love it. To me, the biggest problem was that I feel like the Wonder Woman movie should have came first. Because when she shows up, when she drops in and it's like playing her music, it doesn't have the same impact as say when you watch Avengers for the first time. And like remember the first Avengers movie, right?
Yeah.
Captain America is fighting Loki, and like everyone gets such a cool entrance. Like Captain America is fighting Loki in the streets, and then you start to hear AC/DC just like blaring, and then here comes Iron Man.
Oh yeah,
right. And then they're in the ship, like taking Loki with them as prisoner, and it's like, thunderstorm. And then like Thor rips the door open.
Yeah.
It's so it was such a everyone got these sick entrances. And so because you had seen them in their own movie, right? So everyone was kind of a fan of this person, this person, this person. Well, in the Batman vs Superman, like, Batman didn't get his own movie, which at the time was also fine because like everyone knows who Batman is. We don't need another like introduction to him. I get it.
Right.
But like Wonder Woman hadn't had her own movie. So you introduce Batman and Wonder Woman. But like when I had when I've had friends and stuff watch it for the first time, I have them start with Wonder Woman, then go to Man of Steel, then go to Batman vs Superman, and suddenly it makes way more sense.
Yeah. See that. Yeah, that's. I also think too. I know people want to react to kind of criticisms of different projects and stuff, but I feel like if you just did, Marvel just pushed forward. They just never stopped. They just said, we're just making our next thing. We have a plan and we're sticking to our plan. Whether it's an up or a down, it's a plus or a negative, we're moving forward. And there were way more pluses than there were negatives until, some of this recent stuff that's come out. And you just keep pushing forward, because then in the long, you play the long game. Whereas I feel like, the reviews for Batman versus Superman, they come out and people are like, we got to abandon ship. We got to shift everything around, or I don't know, man. I want someone who this guy, I don't know. I'm reading stuff about this new CEO and stuff.
Yeah.
Set your thing up, set your plan up, get somebody to oversee it and say, here's the money, go do it. And